Welcome to the work session for the Pleasantville Board of Trustees. Today is Monday, September 9. We have a work session beginning at 7, followed by our regular session beginning at 8. Okay, so Nanahagan Wall and the Bedford Road traffic signal timing upgrades. In the attachments, there was a backup memo from Anthony Carr. Do you want to summarize, Eric?
Sure, and Anthony's on for us right now.
Hey, Anthony, can you hear us?
Hi, good evening, everyone. Hi, Mayor.
So I wandered out and was looking at the retaining wall. Looked progress, right?
Yes.
Oh my God, a consummation devoutly to be wished.
There was a big, small wall and a big win.
Oh my God. So you quote Shakespeare, he quotes John Glenn.
Yeah. So you want to give us an update?
Sure. Absolutely. So good evening, Mayor, Board, Eric, Alyssa, and all those in attendance. So Anthony Carr, Superintendent of Public Works. The memo that you have before you from Woodard and Curran, dated, I believe it was April of this year, was an additional above and beyond level of effort from the original RFP for the retaining wall, in the sense that it wasn't in the original scope of work. We needed some context and guidance on how to move forward, and Public Works felt it was best to have a memo, which you have in front of you, which we have discussed briefly in prior work sessions, that identifies the number of, basically the length of wall, an evaluation of the existing wall, how long, what segments are the worst, and how much is it going to cost, and in what priority should we replace these wall segments. So that's the genesis of the memo. So I knew that it would be a good planning tool for all of us, and obviously for Mayor, you and your board, and Eric, to determine what, if any, wall segments we replace and how many we do it at a time, whether it's 1, 2, 3, etc. So the consultant rightfully has requested direction as to if the village would prefer and direct them to design for one wall segment, which is the current RFP, which is wall segment 1, or if they'd like to include
1A and 1B.
Excuse me. No, just 1A wall segment. Okay. And Mayor, that is the
one by PCTV.
Yes, I'm looking at it now, actually, and I just wanted to open it up for my own.
Yeah, let me share my screen, and then if anyone else is watching, they can understand what we're talking about.
I have it. So right now, Woodard and Curran is contracted to design and rehabilitate for construction wall segment 1A. And what that wall segment 1A is basically is, if you're looking from PCTV, if you're looking from Lake Street at the PCTV site, so at the entrance, it's basically the first 160 linear feet to the, 155 linear feet to the left of the entrance. All right, so it's the first 155, and that's wall segment 1A. That is the worst segment. And if you read the report, Woodard and Curran basically identifies a priority level of 1 through 8 to wall segments 1 through 7, because there's a 1A and a 1B. So that's how they get the 8. So at this point, Woodard and Curran has turned to the village and said, hey, we are contracted to do wall segment 1A. That's the estimated cost of $1.35 million. At this time, do you wish for us to proceed with any other wall segments? Because there is an economies of scale. If the consultant does design an additional wall segment now, again, we could discuss the number in which segment, it would be an extra $50,000 to the proposal. If they do another 2 wall segments, it would be an extra $75,000 to their original proposal, which I believe was $382, or almost approximately $350,000 was the original scope. I think it was $382.5 or $325.8. I'm just forgetting the numbers offhand. But in any case, there is a cost benefit realized if we combine segments. And why would we do that? Well, obviously, we all know that there's a priority level for all the wall segments, right? 2, the consultant can design one segment now, or one and another segment, or all 3 segments together, And then the village, what we can do over time is we could have it, there's all 3 segments designed and then permitted at separate times, because typically DEC and federal permits are only good for a year, then they expire. But you could stagger your capital improvement program so that, let's just say hypothetically, all three wall segments are designed, now, present day, right, with present worth dollars, not future. And then you can progress in a staggered approach, maybe fiscal year 25, which we're in now, right? Or we're in fiscal year 2025. You could stagger your approach that in 27, you do the next segment, and in 29, you do the third segment after that. To be honest with you, there's a lot of different phasing and numbers here, but I mean, to do all 8 segments, I believe was an all-in cost of $6.5 million. And that's today's dollars, right? That isn't future worth of money. So that construction cost would go higher. My recommendation, to give you the executive summary, is focus on the top 3 wall segments, right? The worst. Now, if you go to the report, it does say that segments 1A, 2, and 7 are the top 3 offenders. Worst shape structurally, should be repaired yesterday, right? That's 1, 2, and 7. So segment 1A is, again, the first 160 feet to your left. Segment 2, I believe, is the next 200 and I think it's 200
towards Broadway, right?
Yes, 245 feet towards Broadway. So that's to the right of the PCTV entrance, right? But then segment 7 is an outlier. Although it's the worst, segment 7 is all the way down by Broadway, around. I mean, you go down Lake Street and you make a left on Broadway, and then it's all the way down towards Mount Pleasant. So you're out. It's kind of a far reach.
It ends and crosses under Broadway opposite Seneca.
Opposite Seneca, correct. It's so you're kind of far down there. And segment 7, just for frame of reference too, segment 7 is pulling it up now, is about 155 feet as well. So it's almost the same. It's actually the same length as segment 1A. I would imagine, and just from a constructability standpoint, the fact that you'd be dealing with the New York State DOT on segment 7, the fact that it's really not at that point our property, and is really far away from the PCTV site and even further downstream from the pool site. My recommendation, if you were to focus on 3 segments, would be segments 1A, first 160 feet to the left of the entrance. Then segment 2, which they have as one of the top 3 priorities, which is the next 200 and something feet to the right of the entrance, right?
Yes.
And then segment 1B, which is just beyond segment 1A. And that segment, I believe, is 175 feet. So if you add up segments 1A plus 1B plus 2, they're basically all to the left and to the right of the entrance. It's about 575 linear feet. It is also the 3 segments of the wall that are closest to the roadway, closest to the subsurface utilities. You have a county trunk line, sanitary sewer trunk line, which is a bigger sewer main that's owned by the DEF, Department of Environmental Facilities. You have Con Edison Gas. You have Village Water. You have 2 water mains on Lake Street. And you have some drainage, right? So there's a number of utilities. We went through that exercise kind of in the beginning, but economies of scale, a contractor would mobilize in one location. Everything is close together. That's your segments that are closest to the road, which could be undermined during a potential and catastrophic collapse of the wall, God forbid. That's why we're doing this exercise. So I really wouldn't. My recommendation is it's not realistic to complete all 8 segments. We had the consultant look at all 8 segments to give us better planning tools and an idea of how much cost and how long and how much can you get for the money. But to be quite honest, if the board did elect to move forward with more than 1 segment outside of 1A, I would definitely focus on 1B and 2 after that. Obviously, 1A is about $1.3 million. Segment 1B at 175 linear feet, so it's just a little bit more than 1A, is about $572,000. And then segment 2 at 245 linear feet is $1.2 million. So what's the summary? For about 600 linear feet of wall, it would cost the village approximately $3.1 million in today's dollars. Now that's a bit conservative. There's a number of contingencies.
Sorry, before we go too much farther, Can you sort of step back and explain to us what the existing wall is doing?
It's collapsing.
No, what purpose it serves? Is it keeping people out of the brook?
No, it's keeping the
water-
road from falling down.
It's keeping the road from falling down?
Yes, and next to PCTV. I mean, Anthony can describe it better than I.
To prevent flooding?
It is the channelized brook that comes down over the dam. The water is then in an underground channel, as we know, that goes under the pool house.
Yes.
It reemerges as a surface brook.
Yeah.
That, and as it reaches this point is along these segments is an improved open brook, right?
Correct.
Rubble walls and the like.
So this is the wall of the brook itself or a wall above the surface?
The wall of the brook itself.
Oh,
Have I fairly described that, Anthony?
Yes, Mayor. It is an open, basically a three-sided box with no top. And the bottom is your river bottom or your brook bottom, excuse me. And the two walls on the sides vertical are your channel. So it's a rectangular channel minus the fourth top and basically, like a rectangle with no top, a cut off top. So that's your open channel. And that conveys flow, like the mayor correctly pointed out, from the Nanahagan Lake, which is your dam and your impoundment, and receives continuous flow upstream from overland runoff and other groundwater and other features. So there is a continuous flow of water, as we know, right? Because the brook is always flowing. And then during storm events, that brook level gets higher. So that is your main conduit to basically get all of the Nanahagan Park and its dam, the drainage from there to basically the culvert that travels underneath Broadway to Seneca Lane and then around the bend behind those houses. So it's an important element. Now, parts of the channel and the brook don't have a wall because the sides are sloped gradually. They've eroded over time, but again, it's in the middle of the woods. Is it a high hazard? No, it's not really going to affect anything in the immediate vicinity. But the segments to the left and to the right of PCTV are closest to the dam, closest to the pool. They serve as your access. We cross over that culvert or that brook to gain access to the building. So there's a number of interest and reasons why segments 1A, 1B, and 2. If you were to do 3 segments of this list, I would
We have
recommend.
an 8-inch water main in section 1A that crosses what was under the brook and has now been exposed.
Correct. You have 2 service lines that serve the cottage school. You have an 8-inch service line, correct? And you have a 6-inch service line that serves the cottage school too. So there's redundancy there at least. But yeah, if the road was to collapse, you might lose both redundancies. And if the road and if the culvert, or excuse me, the channel was to collapse with the wall, one of the pipes, one of the service lines to the cottage school is currently exposed. But Public Works put basically a ductile iron steel sleeve over the part of the pipe that's exposed at the bottom of the brook, right? So at least we know that a stone, a rock, something hard can't damage it for now. But that's a temporary fix. Although robust, it's still temporary. So that's, the Woodland Curran did a good job at forecasting and figuring out what the priorities are for the village. But again, is it realistic to do 8 segments at $6.4 million? Likely not. If you were to focus on one, obviously we're focusing on the right one. That's segment 1A. That's the first 160 feet to the left. But the only difference in their segment priority is that we would swap out priority 3. Instead of that being segment 7, we would move up priority 5 to 3. So that would be segment 1B would become priority 5 to 3, and you do all 3 in the same shot. That's
So, and is it reasonable to imagine that we gain the economies of scale by having Woodard and Curran do the detail, design, and drawings for all of this, even if they are currently drawing segments that we elect to wait on? Or is the condition likely to change over time such that those drawings done in 2024 would no longer be useful?
No, the site. So the one thing that would be constant are the site conditions. TC Merritt's performed the survey. So the existing conditions would generally say the same, unless something catastrophic happened. I.e. the walls fall down or a portion thereof. The walls, everything would pretty much be the same. So there would be economies of scale for them to go from wall segment 1A to 1B to 2. Have everything designed And then as the village is ready to construct that fiscal year, right? If you assume a staggered fiscal year for construction, so 3 wall segments over 5 years. I mean, you could even do 6 if you wanted to, but I know our capital plan is 5 years. You could do a staggered construction approach so that the only thing you're doing extra or different is permitting each wall phase, but the design itself wouldn't change. The fix itself wouldn't change. There wouldn't be any new technologies that would change that would revolutionize the way that this retaining wall system would be constructed within 1 to 5 years. So I mean, this is
So if we gave Woodard and Curran the go ahead for 1A, 1B, and 2,
yes.
is that what you're recommending?
Yes, I would say if you're gonna do more than one segment, do all 3. If you're gonna do multiple segments, as the top 3, it would be 1A, 1B, and 2 along Lake Street. I would say scrap 7, not scrap it, but even though that is priority 3 on Woodard and Curran's list, and segment 1, I think segment 1B is 5. I say move 1B up from 5 to 3, not a big difference. And then you're in one line, you're in one plane, contractors working in one location, and then everything, there's some matter of practicality to working to the left entrance to the right of the entrance.
And what do you make of segment 3, the one at the top end?
Segment 3, that, I was looking at the map in more detail earlier today. Segment 3 is the kind of that pinkish shaded area.
Yes.
That's the furthest away from the road. Yes, it is a bend. Water doesn't like to bend like that, especially almost 90 degrees. But to be honest with you, that at that point there really is not much wall there. It's almost like the side slopes of the wall are not vertical. They're very much diagonal. And yeah, there's been some erosion. I can't say how much because no one's measuring it with a sediment stick and figuring that out. But it hasn't really caused any problems now. There's really not much wall left. We can go back there in the future and armor it with heavier stone, which would be much easier. And whether we did that in house or we had, a contractor do it, that's a lot easier than building a wall. That just needs stabilization. That the slopes are very gentle and not so vertical, as you will. And you could place stone there strategically so that when water comes around the turn, it's not taking as much dirt with it in a heavier storm. So that to me is a lower priority just for that reason alone, is that there's no wall there furthest from the road. And
So
really,
if we gave Woodard and Curran approval to do detailed design for 1A, 1B, and 2,
yes.
would we send that out to bid as a base bid of 1A and an add option for a 1B and 2? Potentially.
Yeah. I mean, you could do what you did with the pool.
I don't know that that's the right thing to do. I just throw it out there.
No, it's not. I would say it doesn't hurt. I mean, if the design is going to be completed at the same time, they could permit everything. I mean, in one shot, right? So it's one permit application. It's actually a bit easier from that standpoint. So you're not doing 3 different permit applications to the DEC and to the Army Corps. They could permit everything. It's the same set of specifications. The only thing that changes is the quantities in the bid form. But no, to be honest with you, you could absolutely do base bid segment 1A. Maybe that smaller segment, I believe it was segment 2. If I go back to my to their notes, yeah, I'm sorry, 1B. 1B was $572,000.
Right,
so an opportunity, Mayor. Maybe you make segments 1A and 1B the base, and then you do 2 as an alternate. Or you could do any combination, but 1A is definitely part of the base. It would be another discussion with you and your board, Eric, if you wanted to make 1B part of the base.
Do we have any reason for hope that there is grant money out there for this
I mean, we've secured $500,000.
from Andrew Stewart Cousins?
Yep. An
For
additional,
this? Yes.
yes, an additional, $200,000, for soft costs.
Yes, the New York State Housing and Resiliency Corp. I'm almost getting the acronym right.
Risk.
Eric
Yeah.
had engaged that group, and we've successfully secured, I believe, up to 200,000. But Woodard and Curran's fee is $172,000, I think $500 for 30% design development costs. So we're going to get fully reimbursed for
Okay.
all pre-plan, they call it pre-planning, but that's 30% design development. So that's another close to $200,000.
All right. So it feels like we should, what do you think, Eric? It feels like we should give Woodard and Curran the approval to go ahead for 1A, 1B, and 2
For the design?
design.
Yeah, now, Anthony, can you speak to the, what designing 1A would be, and then adding 1B and 2, just so the board's aware?
Yes. So ultimately, for a budgetary discussion, we asked Woodard and Curran to give us a high level number of the level of effort for doing an additional segment and then doing an additional 2 segments. So we didn't get into whether the additional segment was going to be 1B or 2, but just figuratively speaking, to add another wall segment, the proposal cost would increase by $50,000. To add another 2 segments, the proposal cost would increase by $75,000. So yes, obviously, if you do 2 more segments, it's costing you $75,000 versus doing 1 for 50. So there's a bit of a, versus doing another 2 being 100. I guess there's a bit more of an economies of scale there too, is figuring that, okay, they're already doing 1A. If they add a second one and then a third one, the whole extra would be approximately $75,000 to do an additional 2 segments, which we've identified and which what DPW recommends would be 1B and 2.
Okay, so, I mean, that feels like it makes sense.
Yeah.
And indeed, obviously, money it comes into play, but as a construction matter, 1A and 1B are connected. Would
Yes.
there be a similar economy of scale, do you think? One set of contractor mobilization and all of that?
Yeah, I think, knowing what we know today, and again, I believe that Woodard and Curran's numbers, as I've stated to them, I've asked them to fine tune it, but they rightfully pushed back a little and said, look, based on what we know today at a very high level, 15% or less schematic design, they were more comfortable with keeping the numbers a bit more conservative. I do believe that once you start refining numbers and you start value engineering, that all in $3.1 million construction cost could be reduced to some extent. I don't want to put a percentage on it,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's definitely not more. It's definitely not more than 3.1.
All right.
So that's really where we stand. And the consultant, they rightfully said, look, we don't want to move forward any further without you getting direction from the administrator and the board. If you are, if the board is pliable to moving forward, they said, if not, we'll continue with the 1 segment, 1A, we'll do our thing, and it'll be a successful project either way. I said, okay, no problem.
So it seems to me we got to do the 3.
Yeah, I think we designed the 3, and then, obviously, we have a lot of, capital projects in the air.
Right. We got way too much money to spend.
Capital thing?
It is in our section 1A is in our capital plan.
Okay,
And then let's see where we are, as we move out of this season, construction season, see how the projects are shaping up, and then we'll be better positioned as to whether we're in a position to take on 1B or 2
right.
for constructing.
Do we have any updates on any grant funding for our water towers?
No updates, although we're optimistic, right?
Yes. Okay. Does that sound good, Anthony?
Eric, that sounds perfect. I will advise the consultant, and I agree with you, Eric. We could see where we are on the capital improvement program. Maybe we leave 1A as a base bid and we make the other 2 segments alternate just to see, or we take one of those segments, the lower cost one, which I believe was segment 1B. Maybe we put that in plus the base bid and see where we come out with that, and then make segment 2 the alternate. But yes, we could see where we're at, and you could even just stagger them every other year. You could do 1A this fiscal year. You can do, if it starts, hopefully, provided the design's done and the permitting is secured, and then make the next one fiscal year 27, and then make the next one fiscal year 29. Obviously, every year we wait is a little bit more detrimental to the wall, but if it has to be, it has to be. And to be honest with you, after that, I don't think that it may be cost beneficial to move forward with the other outer wall segments for various reasons, not being on our property, kind of being in the woods, them not being actual retaining walls and more mud flats that are sloped up. So I think after those 3 segments, the village has done their due diligence to maybe take a pause and then reassess in a few years if those other 5 wall segments need to be addressed.
All right, great. Thank you for that. So how about a quick update on the traffic signal timing upgrades?
Yes, I had a conference call today with Verdi and with DTS Provident, the traffic engineer, and there's all so far so good. All of the hardware has been installed, i.e., the 3 new 360-degree panoramic cameras. So if you drive through the intersections, you'll notice on each of the 3 intersections, Bedford and Wheeler, Bedford and Marble, Bedford and Pleasantville Road, you'll notice there's there's like a little, I don't know how you call it, but there's a steel rod that extends up from the traffic signals, then curves almost like a gooseneck. And then there's a camera attached at the end of it. So it almost looks like an umbrella handle, but except holding your umbrella upside down and having the handle part curve down, facing the floor. And then you'll see what looks like a traditional kind of security camera mounted there. So those are the 360-degree panoramic cameras. What that is that's video detection. What that is that's the eyes to the brain of the traffic controller. That's the eyes to the brain, which is the traffic controller for each signal, right? So the traffic controller box or brain says how many seconds to give red, how many seconds to give yellow, green for all the different phases. And again, one phase or I should say one cycle when you're sitting at a light has different phases, right? Red, yellow, green, but one cycle, pretend you're at Bedford and Wheeler and you're on the Bedford approach heading towards the Bedford Road School. When it turns green, the cycle time, whether it's 60 seconds, 80 seconds, is the time it takes to get another green if you're in that same location again at Bedford and Wheeler to go towards Bedford Road School. So that's the cycle. It just every approach basically gets a red, yellow, green, so it comes back to you one time. So that's a cycle. But so that's what it does. It dictates the pedestrian. If there's an exclusive pedestrian phase, meaning, hey, nobody can move until these pedestrians cross. So it basically dictates the traffic signal performance and then dictates after that, there's a level of service of how fast we can get the cars through the intersection and down the corridor and get the pedestrians across the road. So they have the cameras in there, which are video detection systems, which help enhance telling the brain and give it better eyesight to say, hey, this is what we want. This is what you need to do. We see stuff here. So it sees pedestrians and it sees vehicles, and then it starts doing its thing. The timing plans that the consultant prepared, which we were kind of talking through some questions and options, and we did successfully today, myself, DTS, and Verdi. They have their marching orders as to what they're going to implement. So they did the hardware part. Now they have to go into the brain and reprogram all the red, yellow, green, and how much time they're going to give a pedestrian to cross. And then remember we talked about something called an LPI, a lead pedestrian interval. So it's going to give the pedestrian some extra time to step off and start getting into the intersection. It's not an exclusive phase dedicated to the pedestrian, but it's more of an advanced phase, which is a good balance between having an exclusive pedestrian phase for them to cross and having no phase at all for pedestrians. So it's kind of like the middle ground. And the New York State DOT requires LPIs on all their traffic signal upgrades too. So, but that being said, those timing signal changes after the direction that Verdi was seeking today from myself and DTS Provident will be complete conservatively within the next 3 weeks, likely sooner. So by October 1st, if not hopefully a little bit before, the hardware will be in, which it is now, but the brains will be reprogrammed to the proposed timing plans that the consultant came up with. And then all 3 intersections will be coordinated together. And then that will be the time when we sit, we watch, and then we might need to make little tweaks afterwards. It's very common in this industry. I'm sure you know, and you could fathom that we might have to make little tweaks and adjustments to the timing plans because those timing plans that were part of the study were based on a model, right? And it's important to recognize that most models are conservative traffic models. And we were also modeling existing conditions with equipment that wasn't completely in full repair, meaning that we had some of our cameras weren't working, some of our traffic loops weren't working properly. So our existing condition and base information, again, was not based on a fully functional traffic signal system for our 3 signals, right? So that's why we're going through this exercise. We had issues and we recognize that, and now we're proposing the improvements. So, there's also things to consider there. But yeah, we'll program to what we've discussed today would be the best option, which is one of the 4 plans that the consultant had provided us. We'll watch, we'll monitor. DTS will come back with Verdi, and if anybody on your side us, if we receive complaints, calls, problems, then certainly we would adjust it as necessary. But there'll be an immediate improvement. And we don't put one intersection online. So all three would basically be working together the same day. Like, so they wouldn't start on Bedford and Wheeler, get that fully functional, go to Bedford and Marble, get that programmed, and then go to the next one, because they're all coordinated on each other. So they're all based on each other's clock, basically. So if one's out of whack, the other ones can get out of whack, if that makes any sense. So they would all be put online at the same time. That will be completed. The timing and the programming, the controller piece will be done within the next 3 weeks. So by October 1, if not earlier, the project may be completed. Maybe there's no adjustments made afterwards, and we're all better for it, and you'll notice an immediate improvement. So even if there are tweaks and adjustments that need to be made, just so you know, it's going to be far better than the level of service and the queuing now that's going on, particularly like on Wheeler Avenue during the daytime.
All right, so that's great news. October 1st.
Yes, October 1st, latest. We're hoping a little bit earlier than that, but just to be conservative and manage expectations, on or before October 1st.
Okay, great. All right, then the last thing, you sent some text pictures. Cooley Street is two-way street.
Yes, Cooley Street is an unofficial two-way street for now. Vito's, the developer's contractor, paving contractor, Pat's Paving, just successfully completed milling and repaving Manville Road. Basically the whole swath of what they disturbed and what they were required to do under their New York State DOT highway work permit. They paved the limits that the DOT had required of that permit. So the only remaining items on Manville Road and Cooley Street is the striping. The Cooley Street striping will be completed by Public Works. We're hoping before the end of this week. I will be, fully honest that right now the DPW Highway Department is also borrowing staff from Parks, because we are assisting ELQ Industries, which is our contractor performing our annual paving as we speak. They just finished Dogwood Lane today. We're assisting them with hauling off the asphalt millings, which we store in our yard, and we're also providing some traffic control. So everybody's a little tied up this week.
Yeah.
Till later in the week, but we do plan, myself, Mike Ferguson, and I do plan on going out Wednesday or Thursday, doing some temporary layout on Cooley, weather permitting, of course, and hopefully by the end of this week we should have Cooley Street striped, or at least temporary striped, and Manville Lane. I have to get a schedule from Vito's team on that, because the paving contractor is the one responsible to get his striping subcontractor there. So we're not doing Manville Road just because that's
Right.
we want to keep the state permit work with the state permit and with Vito's team. So
Yes.
we'll get a schedule on that, let everybody know. It may be done this week. There's not much striping at all, but so they'll do that. The paving contractor sub will perform that striping. DPW do Cooley Street striping, and we're hoping to have Cooley Street open, officially striped by close of business this Friday, if not next Monday.
Well, there's a whole lot going on, and you and your team are managing admirably, for which everybody in Pleasantville thanks you.
Excellent. Well, the feeling is mutual. Like to have a lot going on, and yes, the next few weeks will be an extremely busy time, but you'll see a lot of things happen, including hopefully the finish to Manville Road, which I'm sure Eric is looking forward to more than anybody else.
Yeah, jeez.
For sure.
Right. Oh, my God.
Early Christmas.
All right, anything else for Anthony?
I think we're good.
Thank you, sir. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Anthony.
Eric, board, Eric, we'll talk. Alyssa, have a wonderful evening.
Take care, you too.
Thank you. All right, so we should just touch on the library story, which is that John Farron, the library director, and the library board have crafted a grant that would potentially generate $400,000 towards the phase 1 renovation.
Amazing.
And they need, in order to proceed with that, letters from the town, which they have gotten, and letters from the village, which we need to provide, that essentially commits us to the funding of phase 1. Total funding for phase 1 is $1.3 million.
Yes, it is, total funding, 1.318.
Although the total funding for all the phases is at the moment estimated to be in the vicinity of $6.5 million.
That's all in the village.
Now,
No.
I should say, phase one, the total cost is around 2.1. The library would pick up $810,000.
What are they
of
putting in
that.
phase one?
What's that?
What's in phase one?
I'll have to go back, it's the immediate needs, but, phase one focuses on the removal of the
That's
old
better.
service desk, modifications to the service desk, office and Bedford Road vestibule entrance. Renovations will include a new children's library entrance with a portion of the children's library preps area for the opening of the future atrium. Installs new storefront at Bedford Road entrance with seating area, new vestibule, storefront wall, and exterior covered terrace connected to the main area. This phase is more aligned with the preparation of future phases, but provides additional seating area and continues to promote the vision of the master plan. Oh, I'm sorry. That's phase 2.1. Phase one focuses on the renovation of the main reading area, mezzanine, and vestibule. This work was selected first because it will install new staff offices, service desks, and entrance into the library, which will aid in the completion of other phases. This phase will also highlight the goals of the master plan as it will provide new features such as meeting conference rooms along with mezzanine seating areas. Another goal of this phase is also to promote support for continuing advancing other phases by placing recognizable improvements front and center. That's
So
it.
in the libraries of where the amount of money it costs to do this in 3 phases as opposed to one.
So the numbers we're looking at are numbers that were put together and phasing put together by David Smith, or not Pleasant Engineer, and big shout out to him for all this work on it. I think the reality is that certainly from the town standpoint, and perhaps in the village's standpoint as well, biting on the entire cost all at once is a little bit of a tough sell. I think everybody is appreciative of the overall goal. What John has proposed is that the total price as estimated now is $6,592,000. Correct. Does that include soft talks?
It's,
It's an assumption on.
it does.
And the library is proposing to contribute to that 2.868 million from their own resources. If they get this $400,000 grant, that would be in addition to the 2.868. That can be a discussion about what the library resources are and what and when could be contributed.
Does that break up between the town and the village?
It essentially would follow the intermunicipal agreement that we have, and the town would pay essentially, it's not exactly 2/3, but basically
Oh, yeah.
1/3 for us, 2/3.
The cost that would be split between the town and the village is about 1.3, of which we would be on the hook for phase one, about $441,000.
Yeah, now that might not be a cash contribution, that would likely be a bond anticipation note followed by permanent funding.
Essentially, the town goes to finances and we pay our proportion to the town.
And the ultimate cost to retire that bond is quite a bit higher than all of these numbers, but that's the amount that would have to be borrowed.
But for the 6.59, with the projected budget, the town is like 2/3 and we are about 1/3 roughly.
Yes, that is right.
So I'm officially recused from this because I work with, although I haven't done so this year, but I have worked with architects in New York State more than one. But what I will say is that I think both the town and the library, neither of which, nobody there living has been involved in the construction of a library. Including David Smith, who's an excellent engineer, but again, this is not something they have experience with. Are dramatically underestimating the dislocation that's going to be associated with doing this in 3 phases and not trying to not close a library of that size while you're doing major construction, including an asbestos abatement. And I just like, when I manage a renovation of an equivalent sized library in Oregon, and we had estimated it was going to increase our cost by somewhere around 25 to 30% if we broke it up into stages. And that library had easier access to some of the areas than this. So I absolutely support this project. I will absolutely support, moving forward. I don't think there's an alternative now, but I do think that people should be seeking some more experienced advice on how this is actually gonna run.
Well, so the next phase of this obviously is to engage an architect, the architect, whoever it is for the construction documents. Yeah. Might or may not be the architect who's done this.
Yeah,
kind of documents.
whatever architect
Yeah,
it is.
no, I understand.
I would, no,
Yeah.
what I was gonna say is whatever architect it is, as we discussed with the village attorney. At that point where they're under contract already, I would be happy to volunteer my services to work on this project to make sure that it gets done right.
Much appreciated. So what I was gonna say about that is, the commitment that the town is willing to make at the moment is reflected in the letters that Carl sent for the 1.3 million. They need is approval letter for us, offering to, committing to our share of it. And, obviously in the hope for result that 400,000 shows up for that, there may be other grant funding down the road. I think the issue of, first off, how accurate are these construction estimates? And then the second issue of how realistic is the phasing gets dug into when there's an architect of record on board, would you think?
Well, yeah, that'll be part of it, and then the second part will be when they go to bid, that's when you really see how realistic this is, because the one oddity about this master plan. That's different from the 20 that I've worked on is that there was no professional cost estimate done. What instead they did was just to bring in a construction company to look at the job.
Right.
And so that's a different level of rigor and, I think we'll see.
So, all legitimate concerns, I think, from my standpoint, as I understand it now, the good news is this kickstarts phase
Yeah.
one.
No, it's good to go.
There's an opportunity to reconsider the phasing as some of those issues come into focus, but just want everybody's agreement that we should go ahead and provide these letters.
Agreed. On my end, being the liaison to the library, they worked very hard for over a year and a half to try to get this moving since we had that presentation at Mount Pleasant and, they've, they separated phases, like you said, to just make it a little bit easier of a hit on everyone, but I think that this will really get this ball moving, and as we know, this is something that they can't even hang a picture of because of asbestos issues.
$10,000 for a light bulb.
And so it's, it's great to finally see something that we can really make an impact on, and I think, the library is used by so many people all in Mount Pleasant, it's not just Pleasantville residents. Because there's, they have the numbers on how many people are coming in age-wise, and the library cards are opening up, so this is really a Mount Pleasant joint venture that we have, it's not just us, so I think I'm really excited that we're gonna get this moving.
Yeah, I agree. Again, I'm not voting formally, but my opinion is that we should absolutely move forward on this. The library usage exceeds the usage of everything else that we do, including the pool, in the entire village and the entire town. So, it's the most important thing.
I feel the same, this is a very, since we don't have a lot of real estate, I'd say this is it's very important for us. Also, I think that because they have such a huge, children's program there, that's really, you gotta see the turnout there for every day, which is Miss Debbie, shout out to Miss Debbie, she is one of the most valuable people here in this village, I would say.
Yeah.
Resource. I would like to get forward, but not formally, obviously, but yeah. I'm in favor.
All right. There you have it. Just want to be sure I was aware of what was going on. I was confident that we would arrive at this conclusion, but so
Yeah, just for context, we were to finance at about 20 years, $448,000. It's roughly about $35,000 a year, $35,000 to $40,000 a year. So.
And this looks like, just from the article, not that that's the accurate thing, but when I was looking at it, have dynamic children's room, outdoor amphitheater and meeting rooms. I didn't actually see the rendering.
I think the amphitheater is not part of the project at the moment.
Okay.
So, right, phase one is
So phase-
focusing on the main reading area, vestibule and
Will it have a rec space? Cause I know downstairs is sort of used by the schools as well for a lot of the art shows. Do we?
It's gonna improve the condition of the downstairs. There's on the library website that you can look at the master plan documents, but it'll make the downstairs larger and more usable.
Okay.
It's not, I mean, the library is actually like over 20,000 square feet. It doesn't appear to be that
Oh,
size,
no,
but
yeah,
it's
it's-
much bigger than it looks, and it's gonna make more of the space usable than it's usable now.
And I
It
think
also has a team.
a breakthrough piece is they cut a hole in the floor on the first floor, essentially where the circulation desk is now, so that there is direct light into the basement, which at the moment feels
Yeah.
rather enclosed and rather.
Well, I just wonder because we've
Yeah.
had talks about rec space and the use of this town, and then that's just a great opportunity to be able to use. The library having that space is also used by many other.
I mean, I personally think the amphitheater would be a really helpful thing to do, but let's just get this project.
Yeah, we're just gonna.
Get it rolling, right?
Yeah.
Okay, there's quite a road ahead, so.
Yeah.
All right, so that's good, and I'll report when we get started with the regular meeting. Pool logistics are already in place,
Mm-hmm.
fences up. Some people annoyed that the basketball courts and
I
the,
heard. But I
The
mean,
basketball courts are finally being used.
well, no, they're being blocked.
Yeah.
They are used, and would witness the people who are complaining about it. My son included, I might add.
Keep those back and going.
But great news.
That's right.
It's fantastic.
So trucks and cranes and bulldozers are already on site.
That's right.
So were there a lot of complaints?
I didn't, I mean, I didn't.
Just
hear
Facebook?
or- No, I didn't
Yeah.
see too many.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it makes sense.
Yeah, well,
What we do it, like, it's
it's a
dangerous.
big job and we
Yeah.
need the logistics space, so.
Yeah.
We do. I didn't hear any complaints.
I think the Parks and Rec received a call or two.
Yeah, I was, I didn't see anything on Facebook or anything like that.
Yeah, okay, good. So, as Anthony reported, Cooley Street, like, I mean, there is a whole hell of a lot going on right now,
Oh,
really
yeah.
more going on than ever before.
Yep.
Eric, you want to give a quick, and we'll do it again in the regular meeting, but the endless Manville Road
Yeah.
retaining wall, Eric dodged several more bullets today, ducking and weaving and.
Every day. They poured on Friday, 2 segments of the wall, so half of the wall on Memorial Plaza and then the entire stretch of the wall on Manville Road. They're starting to form what we call segment C of the wall. That's the kind of U shape right in front of the signal.
Yes.
With the goal of pouring that and that last segment kind of across the street from the diner by the end of the week if all goes well. So once that happens, then we will backfill. You know, you have to let the wall cure for a number of days. Then I'll take the form off, the wooden, structure that they built around it, and then they can backfill. And then once the wall is up, then we'll start reconstructing the curb and sidewalk and be on our way, but,
What's our projected sort of date?
so, that is a moving timeline, but hopefully the wall gets completed within the next, I would say, week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. And then PCI will come in and do the curb and sidewalk and, it's hard to say what their timeline is gonna be, but say there's about 3 weeks worth of work or 3 to 4 weeks worth of work for them to do the curb and sidewalk.
So as soon as the slip lane closes, contractor comes in for the
Yes, Memorial Plaza.
Memorial Plaza space.
Yep.
So, whole lot, a whole lot.
Wonder
many
if that'll
years have you
be,
been
we'll
working
get
for this,
close to
sir?
that before our tree lighting, or like the lighting ceremony in
Yeah.
December.
Yeah, I've come to,
Oh, you're like, don't
Not
want
making
to
predictions.
yeah, exactly. We say a date and then inevitably,
We're jinxed.
you put a shovel in the ground
That's
and
true.
say, oh,
Eric, will it be at my time or someone else?
Today's challenge was a shovel in the ground, found a pipe.
Yeah.
Cables serving the
yeah, the signal
traffic
that
light
is again,
in a stupid
spec,
location.
you can tell that thing.
I think
is
there
built
should
for
be
it.
like an honorary day for, like once that project is.
Yeah. Well, the construction super that's building the wall right now, I told him we'll give him a statue.
Okay.
I don't know about a statue, we can definitely give him a pleasant, his
A
name
keys
on
to
a
the-
day.
Yeah.
I mean, you should take a look. It's quite a complicated venture
Yeah, and he's been
design
doing a very good job.
to, get the rebar all in the right place and the forms right in the right place.
Yeah.
The mold that goes in the front to create a texture on the face of the wall. There's a lot going on.
There really is.
Oh, can I mention something before I forget?
Please do.
This is about the library. Other libraries have, people that make donations and there's like a brick in their name. You guys started this kind of thing.
Yes,
So I don't think that's something we're gonna be doing with this sort of new phase of.
John's been a little hesitant to,
Okay.
the way I understand it, and New York is, I do the least amount of my work in New York, I've
Yeah.
only done 4 or 5 audits here. But I think you have to have a foundation.
Correct, yeah, a government agency can actively go out and fundraise.
Right, they
But
can
there
accept
be a foundation,
donations or
correct.
bequests, but they can't fundraise.
Correct.
And John, and tell me if this is still true, but when I was sitting with the library board, he was very reluctant to create a foundation to do that kind of.
Correct, but still
I think
saying,
it's a good idea.
we had a request to put in a tree in that. By a class of like maybe 1971 or something, and then that board chose not to have that, and then I think they ended up finding it on NA.
Oh, so it can't be at the library, but it could be somewhere like, you know how we planted that tree at the middle school, Paul?
Yes,
I just want, anyway, I'm just curious for the future of this next phase of the library. I know that I've seen.
No, it's a good
others, yeah.
idea, and we probably can do it,
Yeah.
but,
the high
He just
school-
doesn't want to do
the high
it.
school still does the bricks.
come on in.
You can buy a
What
brick
I mean,
still,
like-
yeah, the high school still does that.
I just, yeah, I mean, they
Yeah.
wouldn't consider it, I guess, for the library.
The
Not
library board
necessarily.
was hesitant about. Setting up a precedent as to who gets
What?
name like name.
Well, we have
Dedication.
benches, so I just like within the
Yeah,
village, so I
so-
just don't know why we couldn't maybe.
Right, I mean, I think that part, and I agree with you in
Yeah.
that we do that, the board and the library was hesitant about. it.
Maybe we could ask if they would reconsider it,
Yeah.
only because I think.
I
it'd
can
be a
bring
great-
that up.
It'd be a great kind of push for our direct space we do have in the sense of
Welcome.
our, hello,
Yeah,
anyway, just a thought.
yeah,
We
absolutely.
don't mind bringing it.
Yeah, I can bring that up.
Also, we could also, cause I don't know if that also transfers to brick idea possibility for the new civic space, not necessarily, but just the concept,
Okay, right,
not-
okay, I'll bring that up.
just an idea.
Yeah.
Okay. Hello. Hi, how are you? Hello, everyone.
Yeah.
We're just finishing off our work session and we'll start a regular session at 8.
Yeah, I guess people's names, whatever, yeah, I could see their hesitancy.
Well, it's libraries that do a good job of finding the right people
Yeah,
to run the foundation, which is an independent entity and really is not coordinating with the library, can raise a lot of money. I mean,
Yeah.
significant money, and that can allow you to do things that you can't do other things.
yeah, and I don't know if it's necessarily about the fundraising aspect of it, I think that the longevity and also even like something like the pool, having like certain plaques or maybe people that came here for the night for voting for it were extremely passionate, I think. And having that legacy kind of continue on and what they contributed to it, I think actually would make a nice piece for.
Well, they can certainly put a plaque up when they do the renovation to honor the people who worked on the project.
Yeah.
It's very typical, that
Okay.
doesn't require a foundation, but in terms of like doing names, stones or benches or anything like that, that's
I guess-
pretty much exclusively for
Okay.
stones kind of thing.
Okay.
We did have an update on the NYSERD grant, but Alyssa's gonna touch base with Nicole tomorrow to chat about it, but essentially, we're a few points away from qualifying for $100,000.
Okay,
Right now, we are eligible to receive $50,000. So we're right at the cusp. So essentially, what could get us to that point is acquiring an electric mower that Parks Department had originally wanted in their budget and kind of, let's say it was a
Same thing
casualty
like-
of the budget process.
$2,000, $50,000.
Yeah.
That's what my wife says. My wife will be like, we get this. We get this thing that we need and we get it like half
Yeah.
off. So, like, how much is this thing that we're getting?
Yeah.
Right, it's not $50,000 short. No.
Right, so, you know, if you are okay with that, we'll keep you updated, Alyssa will talk to Nicole tomorrow and.
Yeah.
See if that's, what the, what that committee wants to do, but that's likely the direction we're headed.
Okay, that'd be great.
The Parks Department will be very happy.
That mower is great.
I sure will be.
There's no sound. It's
Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah. And that, you know, that fund is depleting. It's a state fund that has annually been replenished and it did not this budget cycle. So there's some money sitting there, but it's first come, first served. Once it's gone, it's gone.
Yep.
Getting anxious. That's what it is.
Yeah.
They're like, fun. Demons. Yeah, exactly. I have heard more news about the county cops, I don't know, being.
Oh, yeah.
Sawmill meetings. They caught, I think it's like 3 red light, or they went through 3 different. Consecutively, there were like 3 different lights where there was red light runners.
Oh, really?
They caught them, yeah.
Well, good. So
Yeah.
there's been.
Great.
There's been some movement on it. I hope we can push them again this week. And I had a long talk with the chief. And he was like, if you keep pushing them, I think they'll be able to keep their sort of presence in
Yeah.
some capacity.
Yeah,
Well, especially since it's really fruitful.
Oh, well, yes,
Right.
exactly.
so Yemi, if you want to send me an email just detailing the feedback you've gotten to the community.
Yeah.
I can forward that along to the majority leaders.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So they see, you know, their
Yes.
good effort at work.
I have many logged, yes,
Okay.
conversations and people noting it. I mean, it's, I mean, on my way here, and sorry I was late. Yeah, I saw it. I mean, it was like, I think it was 10 seconds, somebody ran the red light.
Yeah.
And I wait 10 seconds, but you know, but thank, so that's proving fruitful for that.
In the 1 minute before we start the meeting, I had a couple questions come up to me. Our electric contract with the group.
Sustainable.
Sustainable Westchester. That is, it's being renegotiated next month, is that right?
No,
It's
just-
it's in place.
It just is in place.
Yeah.
They went out to bid and came back with new numbers.
Yeah, they're having informational meetings, informational public meetings.
How are the new numbers now?
Lower. Than the previous.
Yeah, well, last one
contract.
was a difficult contract, right?
Yep, yeah.
How are they sustaining? I know there's been some negative publicity because of some.
There were quite a bit of material they put out. I can forward it to you. And it's on their website. So definitely better numbers, although, you know, if you're a person who wants to chase the lowest number, you can, you.
But they're guaranteed, these are fixed.
These are
right?
fixed numbers, they're guaranteed and they don't change by month,
Right.
as opposed to the general market where the price charged for electricity varies in high demand months, lower in low demand months. So you get that certainty of it, but the other piece of it is that what it's doing for the modest upcharge reflected is funding a whole lot of positive benefits, not only the push to renewable energy, but also all the work that Sustainable Westchester does for solar, starting now to look at microgrids and all kinds of stuff. So
Does this contract have peak hours for EV charging and stuff like that, or is it the same price throughout the day? or-
Yeah, it's a fixed rate.
Okay, so whenever you run your utilities, whatever, does not matter except for, you know, the state benefit during the summer when you don't want the grid to go down.
Right. Yeah, fixed rate.
all right, it's 8:01, so we can get rolling. Everybody ready? All right, good evening, all. Welcome to the Board of Trustees meeting for the Village of Pleasantville. Today is Monday, September 9, first meeting of the fall. School back in session, as is always the case. You can join our meetings in person at 80 Wheeler Avenue or via Zoom. You can pick up a Zoom link for this meeting as well as meetings of other boards and committees at pleasantville-ny.gov. And our next regular meeting is 2 weeks from today, Monday, September 23. So we have a couple of items to lead off tonight. The first is we have a bunch of folks here from the Daughters of the American Revolution. Have I fairly described you?
Yes, that is.
Kicking off, as they have for focused for many years on the 69th anniversary of Constitution Week, which commemorates the signing of the U.S. Constitution, which occurred on September 17, 1787. Since the era of Dwight Eisenhower, this week-long celebration of Constitution Week has been an effort to get people to be focused on the Constitution, what it means, and what is required of all of us to live up to it and to defend it. Speaking personally, I can tell you as a podcast listener, a couple of years ago, I got started on a Washington Post podcast called Constitutional, which is 10 or so episodes each, I don't know, 40, 50 minutes or an hour. Quite a remarkable series, and I would recommend it to anyone. Certainly, it reminded me of lots of things I likely once knew in school and had forgotten, but also a lot of things I never knew. And I'll tell you that the snippet, and it's a little bit of a pitch for folks to listen to this podcast, but certainly germane to what all you folks are doing. And that is the description the Washington Post had for this podcast. With the writing of the Constitution in 1787, the framers set out a young nation's highest ideals. And ever since, we've been fighting over it, fighting what's in it and fighting what was left out. At the heart of these arguments is the story of America. Reporter Lillian Cunningham returns with this series exploring the Constitution and the people who framed it and reframed it: revolutionaries, abolitionists, suffragists, teetotalers, protesters, justices, presidents, in the ongoing struggle to form a more perfect union across a vast and diverse land. So I can tell you that lead was enough to get me to listen to it, and the first one was enough to get me to listen to all the rest of them. And so I thank what you all do for drawing attention to Constitution Week and to the meaning of this document to all of us. I know that there's a display in the Mount Pleasant Library right now, and likely similar ceremonies going on elsewhere in our region. But happy to think that this week we will celebrate Constitution Week, and I have here and will provide to you proclamation. We're getting recorded and heard right here. So whereas the 17th day of September 2024 marks the 237th anniversary of the framing of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention, and each year the President of the United States designates the week of September 17 through 23 as Constitution Week. And on this day and during the week, we celebrate our Constitution and the rights of citizenship that together we enjoy as the people of this proud nation. Now, therefore, be it resolved that September 17 to 23rd, 2024 be celebrated as Constitution Week in the village of Pleasantville.
Excellent.
So-
Thank you so much.
Do you have any comments you want to add to all of this?
I mean, we are the Daughters of the American Revolution, and we definitely support education, historic preservation, and patriotism.
Yes.
And the Constitution. It's all wrapped up in that, and we thank you so much for your support and your promotion of.
Well, I
Constitution.
thank you so much for bringing this to us and making certain that we bring it to everybody else. Quite an impressive array of
Yes.
medals and badges
Yeah.
that reflect the good work you all do.
It's like a resume, yes, for like volunteering and service, serving as officers, some donations.
And the village has been great, and like you said, the Mount Pleasant Library has been wonderful in putting up the, allowing us to put up
Yeah.
the.
All right, so there you go.
Well,
Thank you.
thank you, and then this is for the village.
Oh, wow.
Our appreciation
Okay.
from our Constitution Week committee.
All right, thank you very much for that.
Thank you. If the board and anybody in the room that would like a free Constitution book and.
All right,
yes,
count me in.
So I think we have plenty for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's cool.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
This is great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Great to have. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. This is great.
All right, second item on our agenda is a follow-up to one of a series of great stories here in the village of Pleasantville. As I think most everybody knows, we run a day camp in the summer. And that day camp is not only fun for kids, but it's really, really important to a lot of families when school is out to have a fun and interesting thing for their kids to do so that their parents can continue to be gainfully employed and find a way to live in a place that is by no means the cheapest place in the world to live. So every year we try to maintain tuition rates that are as moderate as they can be, but as you can imagine, there are some families that struggle to make it possible to send their kids to summer camp. And so in the last couple of years, we have sought to be able to provide scholarships to families that qualify for free and reduced lunch at school as the threshold for a scholarship. And this year, both the Pleasantville Rotary Club and the Pleasantville Masonic Lodge stepped up.
As well as the Lions.
And the Lions Club.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was gonna add him, but I like to put him, last in line.
In his own cage.
So it's just one of those moments when these service clubs who operate, obviously, a bunch of charitable activities that are visible to all, but lots of great services that are probably not known to all. And you've got the Rotary, the Masonic Lodge, the Lions Club, stepping up in moments to help people, and that's what it's all about. So I am pleased to welcome Henry Leva, representing the Rotary Club, and Pat Fogarty, Velvet Patty, representing the Lions, and
Maria Wayne, the new president.
He's handed over the reins. Maria Wayne, welcome. And Michael Shalinsky here on behalf of the Hiawatha Lodge number, what is the number? 434. All right. I just want to say on behalf of the village board, but on behalf of the entire village, what a great story of these service clubs, hearing about a need, stepping forward and making possible for a bunch of kids who might not otherwise been able to do this to participate in our summer camp. So come on up. I'll shake your head.
I brought this Rotary staff photographer with me.
All right.
He's gonna do a photo. Do you want to do it with
Sure, but why don't you talk here for the moment?
Sure.
Because this is the camera and the recording. It circles around to find you.
Well, we've been raising, we raised funds all leading up to camp and throughout.
Yes.
We've been giving you guys checks, but I thought it was important to have at least the presentation of a ceremonial check for the total amount raised, which was $16,730. No small thing. While we're here, I would like to ask my dear friend Juliana Riley to come up because she is neither Rotarian nor Mason nor Lion. But
You're at risk in this place. You're gonna come out a member of something?
She's gonna be a member of something.
Yeah.
But Juliana started this whole thing.
Yeah.
She reached out because there were a couple of kids that she knew of that were on the wait list, and the village had run out of funds for scholarships,
Right.
And that got the ball rolling. And when we started speaking, we discovered that there were 7 kids on the wait list, and we said, let's get them all in. So we reached out to the Lions and the Masons, and they each chipped in $2,000 along with the Rotary Club, and the rest came from fundraisers and GoFundMe.
Which Juliana set up,
Which
right?
Juliana set up.
Yes.
And so those were contributions from people in our community, from Pleasantville and outside, that all contributed, some, as little as $20, $25 and some in the hundreds. So people were incredibly generous, and we're really grateful to do this for the kids in town. And we just also want to, make sure that folks are aware that we're going to be up against it next summer.
Yeah.
Right.
And the village will again, try to contribute something, but it probably won't be enough. So when we come a calling, you know, write a check, drop some cash online and help us get the kids to camp. So,
Well, I can't thank you enough, this cast of characters. If you want something done, get these guys to do it. So come on, let's get a picture here.
And,
You're the official staff photographer.
but Henry took the right.
Perfect.
you got about 20 of them?
Send me a copy. So you don't get to keep the check, you get to keep the money.
We kept the, they it all the time.
It's an erase, dry erase.
Beauty of dryer, as Juliana says, it's a green initiative.
Get the word out.
That's
It'll
all.
be
All right.
It'd be great.
Thank you, Juliana.
Thank you so much. This
Thanks,
is
guys.
amazing. This is amazing.
We'd love to help.
Looking forward to next year.
Nice job. Yeah, man.
Is that?
Sorry to interrupt your meeting, but.
No, this is good.
You're a part of the meeting.
You know.
Great, yeah.
Working it.
Yeah,
Let's get it started.
So cute. I see the little snow around.
All right, great. Thank you, Rotary, Lions and Masonic Lodge. I have a couple of announcements to make, but maybe we should stop now and ask if there's any comment from any member of the public on any subject. If you are online and have something to say, raise your hand in the chat. I see nobody, so let me continue with a couple of announcements to make. So there is a lot going on right now in the village of Pleasantville. All kinds of infrastructure activities, and I want to highlight a couple of things. Let's see if I can successfully share this. Right, I've had too many windows open on a small screen. All right, have I achieved that?
Yeah, sure.
All right. There you have it. A week ago, Labor Day, Monday was the last day of the Pleasantville pool season. And this is the scene today with fences up, bulldozers in place, and work beginning on the big project we agreed to undertake last month to renovate and replace the Pleasantville pool. So an exciting activity. The downside for the short term is that access has now been limited by the construction fences, and you cannot get to the basketball courts, and you can't walk on the woodland pathway all the way up to the park. At some point, you have to step out back to the street. But all of that is in an effort to provide the logistic space we need for the construction, and our goal is to make it as possible, as seamless as possible for the contractor, so that they can stay on schedule and get this thing done. But really promising to see them up and running right now. A couple of other things to note, as we have talked many times with the difficult process of getting the Manville Road pedestrian improvement project finally brought to a close. The team have finally been back. Long story, which I won't bore you with. That keeps changing every day. Eric Morrissey, shout out to Eric. He is on this every day of his life, I think, probably including Saturday and Sunday. Thinking about how to get this thing done. Finally, the first two sections of the retaining wall around the war monuments at the corner of Memorial Plaza and Manville are now poured. They're finishing the forms on the two adjacent sections and the form on the curved section right at the nose of the project. We're thinking that by the end of next week, everything will be poured.
Yes.
And once that happens, the slip lane will be closed. There's some work to be done there. And then the different contractor comes in to undertake the renovation of the space that remains after the slip lane is closed. So, again, cannot say often enough, big thank you to Eric. This has been, every time you put a shovel on the ground, something new is found that nobody expected to be there and that by any reasonable standard shouldn't have been there, but there it is. So, good news on that front. Cooley Street, is soon to be completed as an official two-way street. That is the street that runs, in front of Chatterbox, past the parking garage side of the new building and Memorial Plaza, past the post office parking, the parking lot that we own behind the post office, and comes out to Manville Road near Dr. Legun's office. If you drive by there and take a look, or I encourage you to walk by and take a look, we have new lighting, we have sidewalks we never had before. And we're likely going to get the striping done next week. Paving occurred on the street to repair whatever damage was done to connect the utilities today. And so that's an exciting development as well. And Anthony Carr, our superintendent of public works, also a big shout out to him. He's been on overdrive to try to keep all these things running. Gave us a report just a short while ago about the traffic signal upgrades that we're doing along Bedford Road. The result of a year-long project involving data collection and traffic consultant. Now, $100,000 of new equipment on the lights with cameras and the capacity for the lights to understand what's going on between one another. And our expectation is that by the beginning of October, the new traffic signals will be operational. The new signal schedules that have been designed by the traffic consultant will be operational, and we should see some significant results in traffic tie-ups because the lights will be better synchronized together and also better able to respond to what's going on at the other lights. So big stuff going on that front. We're in the midst of paving our annual fall street paving process, and milling and paving is going on in various streets around the village based on a master plan schedule that the Department of Public Works maintains. And you may have seen activity on Bedford Road. Con Edison is doing a gas main replacement in the section of Bedford Road, I guess between Sutton and Academy, but we've asked and they have complied to do that work in a manner that has the road closed up when school is arriving and when it's letting out. And I think Anthony reported that was going well and should be closed up pretty soon to replace a very old gas main. And then later in the fall, we'll be digging into Clark Street to undertake a pretty big stormwater management program all along Clark Street through the parking lot and out to Soldiers and Sailors to repair and replace a pipe that has failed, which has been causing flooding in Soldiers and Sailors field. If that weren't enough, further conversation tonight about a fairly significant 7-figure project along Lake Street to upgrade and maintain the retaining walls that hold up the brook in various places. A lot going on in the village of Pleasantville. I can say I've been involved for a very long time, and I don't think we have ever had this much going on all at once. And everybody's gotten a few gray hairs doing it, but I can also say that we have got a really great team doing a whole lot of work to make all this happen. So people have asked me, and I'll just go ahead and give a quick update. As you know, the Girl Scout building has been demolished, and I think work is soon to begin on the two-family houses on Bedford Road. And then shortly thereafter on one of the two single-family houses that face Great Oak Lane. And as you likely have seen, the two houses that have taken shape on the corner of Clark Street and Bedford Road are now very well along and likely complete within not too many weeks. And you will shortly see the substantial planting that will be going on around both of those houses in order to take advantage of the planting season before the cold weather. So, a whole lot going on. Anything to add to that?
Block party coming up.
Pardon?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say, block party coming up.
All right, so block party, Paul.
Yes, so we are getting everything in order. The block party, reminding everyone it's on September 21st on Washington Avenue and Wheeler Avenue. It's going to start at 1 p.m. and go till 6 p.m. The road closure will start 2 hours before, so at 11 a.m. We ask everyone to be aware of that, just so that you don't leave your cars in those roads between that time, because they will get towed. We have finalizing the last vendors. We're gonna have the maps coming up. We'll also have our banner up in the next week of all our sponsors. And we're looking forward to a great event. A lot of different businesses have already signed up, so we look forward to doing that. We're gonna have the Kids Fun Zone again, right in front of Rhododendron and in front of Frank and Joe's, right there in that area. Kids Fun Zone is for free, so just bring your kids, so it's a good time. And the car show will be over on Washington Avenue as well, so looking forward to a great time. And for some reason, weather doesn't cooperate with us. The rain date is September 28th.
All right. Ragamuffin Parade, Sunday, October 27. I think gathering at 12:30, parade at 1. Have I got that right? So if you have not planned your costume yet, you have about 6 weeks remaining to do it. So start planning. One of the best days of the year for sure. And then as long as we're marking calendars, I hope you will mark Monday, the 11th of November. That is Veterans Day, and we have a ceremony at the gazebo the 11th day of the 11th month at the 11th hour, so 11 a.m. on Monday, November 11. And then the lighting ceremony for the tree and the dreidel at the island on Manville Road is Saturday, December 7. With the conversation with the Chamber of Commerce, a decision to move it from a weeknight to a Saturday.
Correct. It is on Saturday, December 7th, and we've also moved it up to being at 6 p.m., not at 7 p.m. So a little earlier. And we're looking to plan an event for that day where we incorporate activities within the village to promote shopping locally.
There'll also be food trucks there, Rebecca.
That's our game plan, try to get some food trucks up there.
Just a quick reminder that our seasonal ban on gas-powered leaf blowers continues until September 30th. So come October 1, leaf season, gas-powered leaf blowers are again allowed, but until that point, please use an electric blower or no blower at all. We continue to have conversations of various sorts about safety at the Sawmill River Parkway at Grant Street. Amy, you can report the county has had some success, right?
Yeah, the county police, we put in a lot of requests about what we could kind of get done. Originally, we did have a discussion with them about, I guess it was about a month ago, where we had discussions on how to make it safer and the updates that they were talking about. But yeah, there's been a little bit more of a county cop presence. They have had success in a lot of people running the red light and then ticketing those people. I think that some of the difficulties would be that there's a lot of kind of grassy and foliage area, which is to be expected in the season. But once they cut it, I think there'll be a better sort of ability for cops to sort of sit there. And I think that it's had a really good result for us to communicate with the county to say, can we up people?
Yeah. And certainly very good news that they've been successful in catching some people running lights.
Oh, yeah, 3 in a row.
And as I've reported at a previous meeting, our Senator Andrew Stewart Cousins, the Senate Majority Leader, anticipates that when the legislature is back in session in Albany in January, she'll put forward the legislation that would be required to allow a red light camera at Grant Street and the Sawmill Parkway. And we're cautiously optimistic that enabling legislation will happen, and cautiously optimistic that the county would then provide one of the 50 cameras that they are now authorized for that were intended for the Hudson and Bronx River, and include this one on Grant Street. So
They'll also be doing the work where they do the signage further down the road too, or be timed at the light. I think that.
yeah, so I mean, there are certainly a bunch of bits of progress. I can tell you some people have reached out to me directly and said that they know there's conversation about closing of that intersection, but they are very much concerned about the impact of that. But by the same token, there are also folks out there who very much in favor of the idea of closing it. So conversations will continue, but I don't think the decision to close it is coming anytime too soon.
Yeah, I think we were
Because-
still like sort of listening out.
Yeah, I mean, certainly want to hear everybody's opinion and also start to tease out what the various impacts would be. But let me just point out, as I pointed out to a couple of people, that I know at least one family has decided they're going to always go around
Yeah.
and not use that intersection. And so that is always an option available to folks. So
And I advise considering the past of accidents that have happened, when you have family visit and you live on that side of the area, people that visit, you should also tell them to wait. Consider we can't extend the timing of the red light, that's happened in the past where, family members who've come visit have actually gotten to an accident. So just count the cars after they stop. if you can.
we had talked about the idea of coming up with a little bit of a public information campaign just to remind people, pedestrians and drivers, please. That intersection, even in the best of circumstances, is a hazardous location.
Yeah.
You need to keep your wits about you. Don't make the assumption that the light itself is making sure that everyone's doing the right thing. Interestingly, and I guess in some sort of grim way, fortunately, we have had mostly vehicle accidents in that
Yeah.
location and not pedestrian accidents. I think in part because pedestrians, because you're out, you're standing there, you're more inclined to have your wits about you and be watching what's going on. As a driver, windows closed, radio on, air conditioning on, whatever, there's a sense, oh, I got a green light, I'll go. I wholeheartedly recommend you get a green light, confirm that you see people and coming in both directions, north and south, appropriately stopping. So
And I think the discussions with the state and with the county are that it's a team effort, right? It's all of us working together. The village is working together to get that place safer, and also that we're encouraging pedestrians, people that walk across it, people that drive across it, just to be more aware, be safe. We're also doing as much as we can.
all right, and then the last thing I wanted to mention was we're now into hurricane season. Fingers crossed, we won't have any, or we won't have any severe storms, but the county sent out a bunch of links about hurricane planning, and maybe the starting one is ready.gov. And it isn't a bad idea for everybody to take a look at ready.gov and say, hey, have I done what I can do in order to make sure that we're as prepared as we could be for bad weather? And another opportunity to ask you to go to pleasantville-ny.gov, left-hand column, click on subscribe to Code Red. The Code Red service is used purely and exclusively for emergency notifications. Not to tell you water bills are due or anything of the sort. We have a notification for that too, which you can sign up for on news and subscriptions. But the advantage of Code Red is that it allows us to send out messages to people in whatever way they want, emails, texts, whatever you can have. We have some people who are interested in the well-being of family members who live here, but who live elsewhere. They can sign up too and understand what's going on in Pleasantville. I can tell you, and here's hoping we don't have anywhere near a reprise of it, but during Superstorm Sandy, one of the biggest problems all of us had was trying to communicate with folks who had left and were staying with others because there was no power in their homes, or in neighborhoods where there was some significant effort that had to be made to clear something. We didn't have a way to get in touch with people, especially people who were then totally reliant on their cell phones. And we didn't have those numbers. So it will benefit you and us as your government to sign up. Pleasantville-ny.gov, left-hand column, sign up for Code Red. Anything else?
No?
Did I suck the air out of the room?
I'm like, I'm now reviewing. but-
All right, then I can also report, just as a last mention, I mentioned Pleasantville-ny.gov. Alyssa has been spearheading an effort to upgrade our website, new format, new closer to state-of-the-art backend through the service provider. David connected her with a user interface person.
Yes,
Is that helpful?
yes,
Good.
it's good to get comments from residents on what is needed,
Great.
and we're able to do it.
What sort of a schedule do you think that is likely on?
hopefully by February, but I will know more this week. I'm meeting with the designer.
Yeah.
To go
Okay.
over timing.
At any rate, so it certainly is time to streamline our website. We are part of a package essentially by a company that primarily serves municipalities. But they've upgraded, there is new back-end technology, and it should all not only give a better look and feel, but make the whole thing easier for us to operate. And easier for all of you to use.
That's great.
All right. Any further comment from anyone in the audience on any subject? There being none, Ed?
Will you be going in order of the resolution so I can talk about the driveway at Schulte's?
Well, since you are here, how about the notion that we push that forward and do resolution 325 first, so we don't make you sit through all the rest of it. Okay, so
Thank you.
Paul, why don't you start
Sure.
325?
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby refers to the request from the property owners at 35 Mountain Road off street parking in the village right of way to the Planning Commission for review and comment.
Is there a second? Welcome, Ed, you're representing the Schultes.
Okay, you've got a whole package of stuff. This goes back to 2004 when there was a proposal to subdivide the property in half. The Schultes, soon after it was subdivided, ended up with the parcel with the existing house. They built a new house next door, but they never followed through on getting the right-of-way agreement with the village board. The planning board had said that it had to be done in their minutes in two separate occasions during their review process, but they didn't check to see that it was done before it came about to give them approval for the subdivision.
Mhm.
Since then, the current owners, Leslie and Brian Schulte, have gone before this board to get approval for doing some landscaping in the right of way. And no one at that time noticed that this still didn't have approval to even exist as a parking in the right of way. So we're trying to correct that now, and we feel that the owners shouldn't have to go through so much of a burden as normal would be happening with the planning commission to review this. We'd like to see the planning board be limited in their review to what we're doing now versus anything else, a location, a size, anything else that they would normally do. So that we're looking now to put permeable pavers in instead of the gravel, which will make a much better surface. We want to end up with gravel in the street. The water that's coming down the hill will still have the place to sit underneath the pavement because there's going to be a foot of gravel below the pavers. And we're not really changing anything that's already there. The
So
retaining
these
walls-
pictures that you had provided on this drawing,
Yes,
those are the existing conditions,
that's what they're now, yes.
and you're essentially maintaining the existing conditions, but
Changing the paving,
changing the paving to turn it into a little
something
more
that's more
formal.
durable than a pile of gravel.
Right,
Yeah, it's not.
okay, so, go back to our so we would refer this request to the planning commission. I don't know that it's necessary or even appropriate for us to limit their review of this in the manner you propose. Do you think?
I think what the problem is here is that the planning commission missed their chance to finish their review of it. They had already suggested or required it to go before this board to come back. They
Correct,
didn't
some
say
years
anything
back,
about any changes they wanted done. They just wanted approval from this board.
some years back.
Yes,
Okay, so, but enough time has passed. I think we have to send it back to them.
oh, definitely they would have to review
But
it.
I assume that they would review it in the same spirit you just described. They've already okayed this, or whatever version of the board existed at the time. What year was it?
2004. I believe there's still 3 members on the board that were on the board at
Okay.
that time.
All right, so, I mean, again, it's in their purview to review this. But I assume you'll make the same points that you just made to us to them.
That will be the first thing that we can talk about.
All right. So I think our resolution is simply to refer the request. Okay, sound right?
That's right.
Right.
Advisory. I think if they were to not take it, understanding the history, then that would be something that we could address again. But at the moment, let's just assume everybody will do the right thing.
I know the last time I had to go before the board for a front yard parking and right of way variance, that it took 6 meetings with the planning commission. That you had some new members on there that said, this is a change that we don't want to let other people go and do the same process on their properties. That this, I don't think they understood that the planning commission is there to review these things and to give okay on when you've got something better than what is there now. And they were looking at it, the law says this, you've got to adhere to the law. So it took us 6 meetings to convince the new members of the board that their job was to review what was before them as an improvement to the situation versus what else can we do here to make it work with not having the parking.
Okay, well, so as you likely know, we've been through some transition with the planning commission. Anjali Sautoff and Phil Myrick have resigned. Phil's moving out of town, and Anjali has professional engagements that are making it hard for her. But we've appointed Perry Fritas, who lives on Bedford Road in the Overlay District, as a new member, and he's a person that has some in his professional life real estate finance experience, but quite a bit of experience with real estate projects in general. So it's a 5-person board, and that's the board you'll be before, but by your report, and I think it's likely true, several of those members were on board at the time this was originally had. So I mean, it would appear to be an uncontroversial proposal, but it is, of course, in the eye of the beholder. So you'll make your presentation to them, and I can't imagine it should take 6 meetings to achieve it.
Okay,
So,
thank you
all
for
right,
listening.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. All right.
Thank you.
So we will return then to what would have been our first resolution 313. Let me share my screen. All right, David, 313.
Resolved, the Board of Trustees hereby approves the following budget amendments for fiscal year ending 2025 is listed below. $500,000 transfer to capital for the Clark Street and S&S Park drainage, Soldiers and Sailors Park drainage capital project. Increase in revenue and expense to the capital fund, $700,000 interfund transfer from general to the Clark Street and Soldiers and Sailors Park drainage capital project. Close capital project and return funds to special purpose fund, $91,667,000. Closing the Nantahagan Playground Capital Project and transferring the remaining funds to the interfund transfer special purpose fund.
Is there a second?
Second.
So those first 2 items reflect the project I referred to earlier, the drainage project to solve the drainage problems on Soldiers and Sailors Field, which goes all the way out down Clark Street to Bedford Road. The last project is just worth noting that there was some extra money left from the Nantahagan Playground Project. It goes back to the Parkland Reserve Fund, largely funded by contributions that are made whenever somebody builds a new housing unit. They make a required contribution based on the number of bedrooms to the Parkland Fund. $91,667 goes back, and those monies are soon to be used with the other balance in the fund and grants that came to us through Assemblyman Avenatti to do the playgrounds at Roselle and Soldiers and Sailors. All in favor? Aye. Motion approved. Amy, 314.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the abstract for payment of claims dated September 9, 2024 for 2025 and check number is 112095-112251. General Fund, $184,562.37. Water Fund, $17,093.56. Capital Fund, $83,407.75. Refuse Fund, $15,117.42, totaling $300,181.10 for the attachment description.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments or questions on the payment of claims? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion approved. 315, back to you, Paul.
Resolved, the Board of Trustees hereby approves the minutes of the regular meeting held on August 26, 2024.
Is there a second?
Can I actually ask a question with this? I'm pulling this up and it has the date of September 9th. Is that what it usually does? I may have grabbed the wrong one. Just want to make sure, only because it says that I was there and then I don't think I was.
That was the one for this one.
Yeah, if not, I just was curious.
Right.
I think this is
Yes,
the
Okay.
soon to be meetings for the next one.
Okay, I'm sure we can just.
I'm going to change it.
All right. How about we table that briefly and return to it at the end when the correct attachment is there. 316, David.
Resolve the Board of Trustees hereby authorize the following new hires: Anthony Vasella, Recreation Assistant, Panther Club, $22. Journalist,
Janelle's.
Janelle Segara, Recreation Assistant, Panther Club, $22. Emma Bucari, Recreation Assistant, Panther Club, $22.25. Luke Bryan, Recreation Assistant, Panther Club, $22.25.
Is there a second?
Okay.
Panther Club is up and running. Panther Club is still struggling to keep a full staff. So if you or anyone you know is interested in part-time work in the afternoon at Panther Club, a rewarding opportunity to interact with Pleasantville's children, get thee to the recreation department.
How many positions are we?
Well, as many as we can take. Oh, really.
We've had a couple of people who,
Or between I think needing 7 and 10.
all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion approved. Welcome to the new hires. 317. Jamie.
17, okay. Resolve that the Board of Trustees hereby accepts the resignation of James Lovato, school crossing guard, job code 0141, effective August 26th.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, James, for your service. All in favor?
Just to note, James, we had hired and is working as a parking enforcement officer. So resigned as school crossing guard to take a full-time job there.
Which reminds me, I was going to make this point earlier and forgot to do so. First off, after a summer in which we were shorthanded, we now have a full staff of parking enforcement officers. So be aware that rules that the folks were able to skate for a while possibly may not. You may no longer find the opportunity to park in places you can't park for as long as you are doing it. The other thing I wanted to call out, and the signs have gone up to reflect it, is that what has for many years been described as the 5-minute parking on the parallel parking side of Wheeler Avenue has been changed to 15-minute parking, which is more realistic, obviously, for folks trying to do a short errand and more reflective of what we hope that would be, which would be in and out parking as opposed to extended parking. So it's 15 minutes on the parallel parking side of Wheeler Avenue, but we are also going to be episodically enforcing that. So please do not be surprised if you were to get a ticket. So
Also, I don't know if you heard, but Donald Rosa Ford, who is the crossing guard, I guess at Grant Street, passed away. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I don't
really?
know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, I
August
have not heard
30th.
that.
He was 92 years old. He was born in Manchester.
Wow.
Yeah. But he passed away peacefully on August 30th.
Oh, I did not realize. Thank you for telling us that.
Yeah.
All right, did we vote on the retirement?
Yes.
All right, great.
All
right. All right, all in favor of the resignation of James Lovato, resolution 317?
Aye.
Aye. 318, Paul.
So the Board of Trustees here assess the retirement of Kevin Murphy, police officer, job code 134, effective August 31st, 2024.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. 319, David.
Resolve the Board of Trustees hereby approves the request from Amy Marlowe, 66 Sunnyside Avenue, to hold a block party on September 14th, 2024, and thereby close Sunnyside Avenue from Clinton Street to North Place from 3 to 8 p.m.
Is there a second? Have a good time. Sunny Siders, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion approved, 328.
Resolved that the Board of the Village of Pleasantville authorizes the Pleasantville Village Court to apply for a JCAP grant. Is that JCAP or just
JCAP.
JCAP grant in the 2024-25 grant cycle for up to $9,000 as attached invoice and request list engineer.
Is there a second? So thanks to Stephanie Tim Austin, our court clerk, who is diligent about this every year and has been successful in getting grants for a lot of improvements, including the very desks we sit at. On behalf of the court, this would fund chairs that would replace these that have been here for 20 some odd years. With a new set of chairs that can stack and will be more flexible for us. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion approved, 321, Paul.
Result on behalf of the Columbia Herbert Irving Comprehensive Cancer Center, the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the Velocity Cycling event on Sunday, October 6, 2024, from approximately 11 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Is there a second? This event happened last year.
Oh.
Right.
Yes.
And it's essentially just passing through the village.
That's right. No road closures.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion approved, 322, David.
Where's
Sorry,
the,
can I ask one?
Sure.
Do you have the window painting that we can do?
We do have the window painting coming up, but the bike thing doesn't go on.
Yeah.
Okay, just
So, sure, a good question. 322, David.
whereas the Village of Pleasantville is a recipient of federal funds from the New York State Department of Transportation and YSDOT. And all recipients of federal funding must comply with the requirements of Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and other non-discrimination statutes, regulations, and authorities. And whereas the implementation plan attached hereto describes how the Village of Pleasantville accomplishes non-discrimination in the delivery of its federally assisted programs, services, and activities. Now therefore be resolved that the Village Board of Trustees authorizes the mayor to sign the New York State Department of Transportation Title VI implementation plan attached hereto.
Is there a second?
Second.
So this falls into the category of strings attached. You want to describe this, Eric?
Sure, so mainly because of the Manville Road project, we are receiving federal funds through the New York State Department of Transportation. We're now committed to evaluating and remedying any non-compliance in ADA. So we have to look at
Not just in the project area, but anywhere in the village.
village-owned sidewalks. So we have to look at our sidewalks, drop curbs and crosswalks to ensure ADA compliance. We need to create an inventory of those, and those that are not ADA compliant, we need to come up with a plan to remedy. We also need to look at our indoor facilities and ensure ADA compliance as well. So we will likely hire a consultant to lead us through this process, but
Or complete streets, something like that?
it potentially would.
I know, pedestrian.
But this is gonna be more of an intensive
Get it done.
where you measure the slope of
Yeah, it's an ADA
the drop
thing, so
curve
it's-
to ensure.
That's
that-
legal.
Indoor stuff too.
Yeah, our buildings, which in general are ADA compliant, but
So wheelchairs. can go
When,
up the ramps
when would
and
we
all
have to get that done?
so there is not we have to, there's a deadline to sign the plan. But there is not really a timeline to implement.
That's not a choice we have. This is something we just have to do.
I mean, it isn't that we weren't required to
doing.
fulfill ADA already, we
yes,
were,
yeah.
but what this pushes forward is the need to do a detailed review. And I can tell you on Manville Road, we had to go through this process for the area where we were working, including laser sighting of sidewalks to make sure that, the grade was like within quarter of an inch. So,
And we also need to review and update every 3 years.
Oh, okay, all right. Sorry, thank you.
Sure.
So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm really
Don't have too
coming in
much.
hot tonight.
Good
so
night,
I-
thanks.
Every bullet.
322, Yami.
Okay. 322 is.
I'm sorry, 323.
323, okay. Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby adopts the Village of Pleasantville Child Abuse Prevention Policy pending final review of the village attorney.
Is there a second?
Second.
So at a work session review of this, and this is just a good policy to establish.
Yep, especially running a childcare program of the size we do.
Simply a means of not only highlighting to all employees what their responsibilities are, and their responsibilities to be aware of anything they think could be concerning, and then the mechanism by which we would address those. That's correct. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion approved, all 324.
So the Board of Trustees hereby accepts a donation from the Pleasant River Rotary Club in the amount of $6,966.60 for the purposes of Pleasant River Recreation Camp Scholarship Program for the 2025 summer camp season.
Is there a second?
Second.
Further to what we saw at the outset with the presentation of the big check, that reflected contributions. This contribution from Rotary, $6,966, the contribution from the Sonic Lodge, the Lions Club, and many local individuals producing over $16,000 in contributions. Thank you, Rotary and Henry Leva, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved, 325. Oh, we already did 325, that was the, right, 326.
So the Board of Trustees hereby approves the return of petty cash from the following seasonal programs and events. From the Village Pool Front Gate, $100 from Pleasantville Music Festival 2024 Front Gate, $5,000.
Is there a second? Somebody?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. Okay, back to 315. The minutes are now updated. 8:26. They show you, Amy, as absent.
Okay. Oh,
Correct. All right. Just quickly look them over there. We talked about the pool, we talked about the meeting about Grant Street. All talked about the block party and then the various
So we're,
resolutions. All right, I see no errors. Comments, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. That is the last of our regular resolutions. Is,
Wait, then we have 326.
No, I did that.
we did that.
Oh, you did that
Yeah.
one. Sorry, I missed that.
We did.
Oh, right. Sorry.
That was it.
I moved to end the
We
meeting.
jumped
go
around a
to
bit
executive
tonight,
yeah.
session.
All right, motion to go into executive session by David,
Second.
hold on. I gotta say,
Motion to finish executive session.
on contractual and personnel matters.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you all. Anyone who's watching, we'll be back in 2 weeks, on September 23rd. In the meantime, kicking off the fall, have a good year, great school year, I hope. School's open, drive carefully and slowly. Thank you.